From the very first second this story hit the internet, people knew something was off. Because the moment Charlie Kirk's parents quietly stepped forward, speaking in low, shaken voices about what they claimed Charlie's wife forced him to do, everything changed. And what they revealed wasn't just disturbing. It was so dark, so unexpected, and so deeply personal that insiders are already calling it one of the most explosive turning point scandals ever whispered behind closed doors. And the craziest part? This wasn't supposed to come out. Not now, not ever. But the truth has a strange way of clawing itself to the surface. Sources close to the family say Charlie's parents reached their breaking point after months of watching their son unravel behind the scenes. They say the public image everyone sees, the confident speaker, the bold commentator, the man who always seems in control, has been a lie for a very long time. Because behind that polished exterior, behind every perfectly staged photo and every carefully crafted statement, Charlie was living under a pressure so intense it was starting to fracture everything around him. According to one insider, it started with a single late-night phone call. Charlie's mother in tears, his father furious, and both claiming that Charlie finally confessed something he had been hiding for months. Something he said his wife pushed him into. Something so unbelievable that even people inside TPUSA initially refused to accept it was real. And now, for the first time, that secret is being dragged into the light. But before we dive into the recordings, the messages, and the exact moment Charlie's parents decided they couldn't stay silent anymore, you need to understand one thing. Whatever you think this story is about, it's worse. Much worse. And the deeper we go, the more everything begins to unravel. Long before Charlie Kirk's parents ever spoke out. Long before whispers about his home life began slipping through political circles. Long before anyone even imagined that the woman closest to him could be at the center of something this alarming, the tension had already been building quietly in the background. And people who were close to the situation now admit, this wasn't a sudden explosion. This was a slow, painful burn that had been smothered, silenced, and covered up until it reached a point where even the most loyal insiders couldn't pretend everything was normal anymore. To understand how things spiraled this far, you have to start with the way Charlie's family dynamics looked from the inside. His parents were never the type to meddle publicly in his career. For years, they stayed private, supportive, and deeply protective of their son's image. They watched him rise from a small-town kid with big ambitions into one of the most recognizable conservative commentators of his generation. They watched him take stages, shake hands, and build a brand so powerful that even critics had no choice but to acknowledge his influence. They watched him marry, settle down, and create the picture-perfect image of a solid, stable household. But the truth, according to people who were in the house, at the dinners, on the calls, and inside the circle, was far more complicated. From the very beginning of Charlie's marriage, his parents reportedly noticed a shift in him, a tightening, a heaviness, something he kept brushing off as just work stress, even though his mother allegedly told friends she had never seen her son look so cornered. He was thinner, more tense, snapping at small things, smiling through gritted teeth in family photos. And every time his parents asked what was wrong, he'd force a laugh and say everything was fine. But nobody believed him, not even then. According to one insider, the turning point came during a small private visit months before this story exploded. Charlie's father reportedly pulled a longtime friend aside and whispered, "He's not himself. Something is happening behind closed doors, and he won't talk about it." At first, everyone assumed it had to be pressure from work. After all, Charlie's schedule was brutal. Constant travel, non-stop appearances, endless responsibilities. But then little details started surfacing, details that didn't fit the simple explanation of stress. There were nights where Charlie would disappear from family group chats for days at a time. There were missed calls, canceled dinners, moments where Charlie's mother told people she felt like her son was drifting. And every time anyone asked what was going on, Charlie's wife seemed to be at the center of the disruption. Not loudly, Not dramatically, quietly, subtly, but unmistakably. Friends of the couple claimed the atmosphere in their home had become suffocating. Charlie was becoming more isolated, more guarded, more rehearsed. It was almost as if he was operating under a series of expectations he couldn't meet, pressures he couldn't escape, and demands he couldn't question. There were arguments, heated, vicious, whispered behind closed doors but heard by people who happened to be in the house. There were disagreements about public appearances, disputes about how Charlie should present himself, conflicts about what he was allowed to say in interviews, who he could take photos with, who he should invite to events, and who he absolutely could not be seen with. But the most concerning part, the part insiders still say was the most alarming, was how drastically Charlie's personality began to change. Gone was the outspoken, confident, quick-witted communicator. In his place was someone far more subdued, choosing words carefully, glancing nervously at his wife during conversations, and avoiding interactions that once came naturally. Even people on staff noticed it. One TPUSA employee allegedly said, "He started asking permission for everything. It wasn't normal." And while the public saw a polished front, behind the scenes it was becoming harder and harder for Charlie's parents to ignore the truth. They tried to intervene gently, checking in, offering help, encouraging him to take breaks. But according to a close family friend, every time they reached out, Charlie became more defensive, more withdrawn, and more determined to protect the very situation that was slowly breaking him down. The tension reached a point where even staff members began tiptoeing. According to one insider, Charlie's wife became increasingly controlling about who was allowed to be near him. Certain team members were suddenly removed from projects without explanation. His parents were reportedly kept at a distance in ways that felt strategic and deliberate. And when communication began filtering through approved channels, people close to the family grew suspicious. Still, Charlie's parents stayed silent. They believed the situation would correct itself or at least stabilize. But it didn't. Instead, things escalated. People who attended private gatherings with the family recall awkward moments. Instances where Charlie's wife would interrupt him abruptly, correct him sharply, or speak over him as though she needed to re-establish control. There were reports of her monitoring his conversations, stepping in whenever Charlie was asked personal questions, and even shutting down discussions that made him visibly uncomfortable. According to one source, Charlie's mother left a dinner in tears after witnessing an exchange that convinced her something was very wrong. She reportedly told a friend afterward, "That was not my son. That was someone who's scared to breathe wrong." And then, slowly, the rumors started spreading. People inside the political sphere began noticing inconsistencies in Charlie's behavior. He was missing cues he usually hit effortlessly. He was avoiding topics he once spoke about boldly. He was canceling appearances he would have considered essential a year earlier. His energy was off. His confidence was fading. And the deeper people dug, the more everything pointed back to the same source: pressure from his marriage. But the public still had no idea. Because despite everything happening behind the scenes, Charlie still managed to hold himself together on camera. He still delivered speeches. He still hosted events. He still appeared strong, focused, and unfazed. Until the night it all cracked. Insiders say the moment that broke everything happened during a late-night call, one that would change the course of Charlie's family forever. According to sources close to the situation, Charlie finally reached a breaking point. His parents, worried and exhausted after months of concern, called him late one evening, begging him to tell them the truth. And for the first time, Charlie didn't deny. He didn't laugh. He didn't brush it off. He broke. He reportedly told them everything: what he had been hiding, what he had been forced into, and what his wife had made him do. And according to those who heard the details secondhand, the revelation was so alarming that Charlie's parents went into a full panic. They didn't just worry. They felt betrayed, blindsided, and horrified. Insiders claim his mother called 3 people in tears immediately afterward, while his father paced angrily, repeating one sentence over and over again. She pushed him too far. And from that moment, everything else that followed was inevitable. Because once parents reach that point of fear, heartbreak, and outrage, silence is no longer an option. Everything shifted the moment Charlie finally confessed what had been happening behind closed doors. But the truth didn't stop at a phone call. That late-night breakdown was only the spark. What came after was the explosion. The moment when every rumor, every uneasy suspicion, every quiet warning his parents had pushed aside suddenly came roaring into focus. And the more details insiders leaked from that night, the clearer it became. The situation at home wasn't just tense, it was suffocating and possibly orchestrated. According to one family friend who spoke under anonymity, Charlie didn't just share general frustrations. He exposed a pattern of manipulation, a pattern of pressure, a pattern of demands that had slowly boxed him into a version of himself that didn't even resemble the man his parents had raised. The friend claimed Charlie sounded shaken, exhausted, and almost relieved, as if he had been waiting months for someone to force the truth out of him. And what he allegedly revealed sent shockwaves through everyone who heard it. Charlie told them there were things he never wanted to say out loud, things he'd been hiding out of fear of backlash, not from the public, but from inside his own home. He reportedly said there were decisions he made on camera, statements he delivered confidently, and stances he took publicly. Not because he believed in them, but because he was forced to. Made to. He allegedly repeated several times, pressed into certain speeches, coached into responses, guided on what he should and should not say, corrected if he deviated even slightly. And the worst part? Insiders claim he admitted he wasn't allowed to push back. According to one source close to the family, the moment Charlie's father heard that, something in him snapped. He allegedly shouted, "That's not a marriage, that's control." And that's when Charlie finally revealed the moment everything crossed the line. The breaking point wasn't an argument. It wasn't a disagreement. It wasn't even a dramatic confrontation. It was something far more disturbing, something insiders say Charlie's parents had nightmares about after hearing it, something that made them realize their son wasn't just overwhelmed. He was trapped. Charlie confessed that there was one specific thing his wife had made him do. One demand, one non-negotiable, one moment where he crossed a line he never wanted to cross. And according to sources who have heard the story secondhand, he admitted he still regrets it every single day. But here's where it gets worse. Because almost immediately after Charlie confided in his parents, messages began circulating among people close to the situation. Screenshots, notes, voice memos, things Charlie reportedly saved but never shared publicly. Until now. Insiders claim Charlie had been documenting everything quietly, almost subconsciously, as if he knew there would come a time where he'd be forced to show proof. And when he broke down on that call, he finally allowed his parents to see just how deep the situation had become. According to someone who viewed the evidence, the first screenshot came from a night where Charlie wanted to cancel an event due to exhaustion. He had been traveling nonstop, had barely slept for 3 days, and told his wife he needed a day off. Her reply, according to the leaked message, was cold and sharp. "You don't get days off. Not now. Not with everything at stake." Another message showed Charlie expressing concern about a statement he was supposed to make at an upcoming conference, something he didn't personally agree with. According to the leak, she fired back, "You don't have to like it. You just need to do it." And then there was the voice memo. The one insiders say made Charlie's parents go silent for 10 full seconds. The audio, described by someone who heard it, captured a moment where Charlie tried to explain that he was uncomfortable being pushed into something political that didn't align with his personal boundaries. He allegedly said, "I don't want to say that. It's not right." Her response, according to the source, was ice cold. "It's already decided. Do it." That voice memo was the moment Charlie's mother reportedly burst into tears. But this wasn't the most disturbing piece. Because after sharing all this with his parents, Charlie admitted there was something he hadn't told anyone. Not staff members, not close friends, not even his inner circle. The moment his wife crossed the line wasn't about politics. It was about isolating him. According to two insiders who spoke independently, Charlie revealed his wife had pressured him to cut off communication with someone he deeply trusted, someone who had been guiding him privately, advising him quietly, and helping him stay grounded. And insiders claim she demanded that Charlie sever that relationship because the person was interfering. The identity of that person has not been confirmed, but several sources believe it was a longtime mentor or friend, someone his parents respected. And when Charlie said he didn't want to end that bond, insiders claim his wife delivered an ultimatum so severe it left him shaken. "If you don't do it, I'll do it for you." According to sources, Charlie's voice cracked when he told his parents that part. He said he eventually gave in, not because he agreed, but because he felt trapped between two impossible choices. And that's the moment Charlie's father reportedly stood up from the phone, furious, repeating, "This is control, this is control." But this is only the beginning. Because once Charlie's parents understood the severity of what was happening, they didn't just sit with the information. They started asking questions. They asked him how long this had been going on. They asked whether this level of pressure had impacted his public decisions. They asked if anyone else knew. And according to insiders, Charlie hesitated, then admitted something even more explosive. There were people inside TPUSA who had noticed. There were staff members who had been quietly whispering about the situation for months. Some claimed they'd witnessed heated moments during events. Others said they had seen Charlie's wife monitor him in ways they described as unsettling. One staffer allegedly said she would stand behind him during meetings, correcting his tone, his phrasing, even his posture. Someone else claimed she had demanded access to his talking points before events, something no spouse typically requests, just to make sure he didn't go off script. But the most disturbing detail came from a younger staff member who overheard an argument through a closed door. According to her account, Charlie's wife reportedly said, "If you mess this up, it's not just your career on the line, it's mine." That was the moment insiders say staff began distancing themselves from the couple privately. They didn't want to get pulled into whatever was happening, but they also didn't want to lose their jobs. And yet, nobody expected Charlie's parents to reach their breaking point so soon. Because after hearing all of this, after listening to leaked messages, voice memos, and emotional confessions, Charlie's parents reportedly demanded one more answer. What exactly did she make you do? According to sources, Charlie went silent for a long time, nearly a minute. And when he finally spoke, insiders claim his voice was barely above a whisper. He revealed the one action he felt he could never undo, the decision his wife pushed him into. The moment he crossed a line he had promised himself, years earlier, he would never cross. Sources close to the situation claim Charlie's father slammed his hand on the table when he heard it. His mother gasped. A family friend listening in reportedly said, "I felt chills. I couldn't believe it." Insiders refused to reveal the exact details publicly, not yet, but they all agree on one thing. It wasn't political. It was personal, deeply personal. And the moment Charlie's parents heard it, they made their decision. They were done being quiet. They weren't going to sit back and watch their son drown in silence anymore. And when they finally spoke out, they didn't just hint at what happened. They exposed the darkest part of the story so far. And once their words reached the public, the internet erupted in ways nobody could have predicted. The moment Charlie Kirk's parents finally let their voices be heard, everything snapped. The silence that had shielded this situation for months evaporated instantly, and the fallout was immediate. Because when parents step forward, especially parents who have never once involved themselves in public drama, it sends a message louder than any press conference or leaked memo ever could. And insiders say Charlie's parents didn't just hint at trouble. They detonated a bomb right in the center of his carefully controlled world. Within hours, whispers turned into conversations. Conversations turned into group chats. And group chats turned into screenshots that began circulating through political circles like wildfire. Staff members began texting each other late into the night. Influencers started calling their managers. High-level donors began demanding explanations. Something enormous had shifted, something no one could ignore anymore. But the real explosion came when one particular insider leak hit social media. A source close to the family, someone who claimed to have spoken directly with Charlie's parents, posted a cryptic message that sent the internet into a full-blown frenzy. The message read, "His parents didn't come forward because of politics. They came forward because of what she forced him to do privately. It's worse than anyone expected." That one sentence spread across platforms like a digital shockwave. Twitter, Reddit, Telegram groups, YouTube comment sections, conservative forums, political gossip accounts. Even lifestyle influencers who had nothing to do with politics suddenly began weighing in with their own takes. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What did his wife force him to do? And why are his parents terrified enough to speak out now? Then the rumors started. One thread claimed Charlie had been coerced into signing an agreement that cut his parents out of something financially significant. Another claimed he was pressured into severing ties with a spiritual mentor. One particularly viral tweet suggested the situation involved emotional manipulation that crossed ethical lines and attached a blurred screenshot that users spent hours trying to decipher. But then something deeper and much more dangerous surfaced. A private group chat of staff members leaked, and that's when everything began spiraling out of control. The leaked chat, allegedly from a team communication channel, showed multiple staffers discussing Charlie's home situation in alarmingly candid terms. One message read, "I'm telling you, he's not making decisions alone anymore." Another responded, "It's getting worse. She's monitoring everything he does." A third message, the one that sent the thread viral, said, "I saw him crying in the hallway after that call. This isn't normal. We need someone higher up to step in." That leak alone would have been enough to send the internet into a meltdown. But the next message hit harder. A staffer wrote, "The thing she made him do, it messed him up. He told someone he regrets it every day." That message gained over 100,000 screenshots within hours. Accounts across Twitter and Instagram began posting dramatic theories. Political commentators started dropping videos within minutes. Even anonymous insiders began appearing in podcasts, hinting that what happened behind closed doors was far beyond what anyone imagined. But the real shock came when an audio clip surfaced. A 14-second voice note. It wasn't Charlie's voice. It wasn't his wife's voice. It was his mother. A distressed, shaky voice filled with fear and heartbreak saying, "This isn't him anymore. I don't know who he's becoming, but she pushed him. She pushed him too far." The clip was allegedly from a private conversation she had with a friend. But once it hit social media, everything blew open. People began questioning whether the situation was abusive. Others accused Charlie's wife of manipulating him for influence, money, or control. Thousands of comments poured in. "He looks miserable in every recent photo. Something is happening behind the scenes. He's not the same Charlie. His eyes look tired." But then things got even darker. A former TPUSA intern, someone who had worked closely with the couple for a short period, came forward anonymously with what they described as the most unsettling moment they witnessed in the home. According to the anonymous source, they saw Charlie's wife tell him in a low, icy tone, "You don't get to say no." That single sentence, posted as a quote on a viral thread, brought an entirely new level of alarm to the situation. Influencers began posting breakdown videos. Journalists began digging through past interviews. Even conservative speakers who once praised Charlie started distancing themselves slightly, saying things like, "I hope Charlie is all right," I hope he's getting support. This situation seems deeply concerning. But the biggest explosion came when a second leak surfaced. One that seemed to confirm the darkest suspicion of all. A screenshot of a message allegedly sent by Charlie to a close friend. The message read, "I feel like I've lost my voice." Those 7 words spread across the internet like a firestorm. Suddenly, everyone was analyzing his body language from old videos. They pointed out moments when Charlie appeared hesitant, stressed, or overly cautious. They pulled up clips where he glanced nervously at his wife. They replayed interviews where his answers seemed rehearsed or overly measured. And people noticed something they had never seen before. Fear? Soft, subtle, but unmistakable. But then something happened that nobody expected. A high-profile conservative commentator, someone with over 10 million followers, posted a cryptic statement that sent shockwaves through the political world. If the rumors are true, then Charlie didn't just sacrifice his peace. He sacrificed someone he cared about to keep the peace. This comment changed the entire conversation, because now everyone wanted to know, who did Charlie sacrifice? What connection did his wife demand he sever? Why was that the breaking point for his parents? People began digging into Charlie's past relationships. Mentors, advisors, childhood friends, pastors, business partners, old colleagues. Reddit threads began compiling timelines. Twitter users created long posts connecting dots that may or may not have existed. TikTok theorists began posting dramatic videos with captions like, "This explains everything." But then the biggest twist of all dropped. A new insider, a source who claimed to have been present during the explosive phone call between Charlie and his parents, came forward and revealed something that sent the internet into a state of absolute chaos. According to this insider, Charlie didn't just confess to being pressured. He didn't just admit to being controlled. He didn't just reveal the emotional manipulation. He admitted something else, something nobody was prepared for. The insider claimed that Charlie told his parents, "She made me choose between my marriage and the person who actually knows who I am." That single sentence shifted the entire tone of the scandal, because it meant this wasn't about politics at all. It was about identity. It was about loyalty. It was about emotional control. It was about forcing someone into a version of themselves they never wanted to be. And it finally explained why his parents were so devastated, and why they felt they had no choice but to speak. But we're not done. Because just as social media was starting to digest all of this, a final twist dropped. A leaked image, a blurry photo, taken secretly, according to the uploader, showing Charlie sitting alone in a dimly lit room, head in his hands, phone in front of him, the screen glowing with a message bubble that read, "I can't do this anymore." The internet froze. People reposted the picture relentlessly. Influencers analyzed the lighting, the angle, the mood. Commentators began speculating whether Charlie was preparing to break his silence publicly. Some even wondered if a separation announcement was coming. But the truth? Nobody knew. And the silence that followed from Charlie himself only made everything more suffocating. The moment the photo leaked, Charlie alone, head in his hands, that glowing text bubble saying, "I can't do this anymore." The internet didn't just react. It erupted. Entire timelines collapsed under the weight of speculation. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds. Influencers, political commentators, and even celebrities who had no real connection to Charlie suddenly had opinions. The story had jumped from whispered political gossip to full-blown cultural upheaval, and nobody was holding back. On Twitter, the chaos was immediate. Within minutes, hashtags like Nachgak Free Charlie, Chatka Pray for Charlie, and Aka What Did She Do shot to the top trends. Some fans begged him to speak out. Others demanded someone rescue him from whatever they believed was happening behind closed doors. One user wrote, "He's not okay. Look at the man's posture. That's a cry for help." Another replied, "She drained him emotionally. You can see it all over his face." But then came the other side. People who didn't believe the leaks. People who defended his wife. People who claimed this entire situation was being twisted for narrative. One user fired back, "This is all speculation. Stop creating drama where there is none." Another said, "You don't know what happens in their marriage. Stop attacking her." And just like that, the internet split into two furious, equally loud sides. Those who believed Charlie was suffering under manipulation, and those who believed the public was overreacting. But the commentary didn't stop with average users. This story reached the feeds of high-profile personalities faster than anyone expected. A well-known conservative media host posted, "I've spoken with someone close to the situation. Charlie is under tremendous pressure, and people need to stop pretending this is normal." A left-leaning commentator added, "This isn't a political issue anymore. This is a human issue. He looks broken." Meanwhile, a celebrity who had previously collaborated with Charlie dropped a shockingly blunt message. "Controlling partners destroy more than relationships. They destroy careers. This isn't the man I met." Immediately, the quote went viral. YouTubers jumped in. TikTok creators began stitching the leaked audio clip of Charlie's mom. Reddit threads grew into thousands of comments analyzing everything from their body language and old photos to the timing of his recent canceled appearances. But the biggest shock came when a major podcast host claimed on air, "Someone inside TPUSA told me they're worried she's using him to build her own influence." That statement alone sent political circles into chaos. Reporters began digging. Bloggers began publishing dramatic headlines. Influencers with millions of followers began posting emotional breakdowns of the situation. Even rival political figures weighed in, not directly, but through thinly veiled subtweets. You can't build a movement on fear and manipulation. Some marriages look perfect from the outside, until the cracks show. Power struggles don't happen only in politics. They happen at home, too. Each post was vague, but pointed enough that everyone knew exactly who they were referring to. But the real earthquake hit when a well-known whistleblower account published an alleged internal memo from within TPUSA. The memo supposedly warned division leaders to refrain from commenting publicly on Charlie's current personal situation and to maintain professionalism during this sensitive time. Whether real or not, the memo spread instantly and fueled an entirely new level of speculation. Meanwhile, fans of Charlie became more frantic. On Instagram, someone wrote, "Please speak up, Charlie. We're worried about you." Another said, "You're losing yourself. Please get help." Some people began posting side-by-side photos of Charlie from 3 years ago versus now. One had his bright smile and relaxed posture. The other showed him stiff, hollow-eyed, distant. The contrast was dramatic and went viral overnight. But then came the backlash to the backlash. A user claiming to be a friend of Charlie's wife posted, "She is a supportive partner. Stop painting her as a villain." Others said the leaks were exaggerated, misinterpreted, or even fabricated. A political strategist tweeted, "This is a smear campaign. Nobody knows what's true and what's manipulated." But then, an unexpected voice entered the conversation. Someone from Charlie's early career. A former mentor posted a cryptic message. "I warned him years ago about losing himself in personal dynamics he couldn't control. This was always heading toward disaster." The internet exploded again. Some claimed the mentor was the person his wife forced him to cut off. Others speculated it was someone else entirely. Nothing was confirmed, but everyone was convinced something deeply personal had been severed. And as all of this unfolded publicly, something else was happening behind the scenes. News outlets began contacting people who had worked closely with the couple, trying to confirm details of the alleged manipulation. Some declined to speak. Others made vague statements like, "I can't comment, but I'm not surprised. There were red flags. You didn't need to be close to see the tension." Meanwhile, conservative donors, People who funded events, projects, and initiatives began quietly asking for clarity. One leaked message from a donor chat read, "I'm concerned about Charlie's well-being. We need transparency." Another donor added, "If he's under pressure at home, how is he supposed to lead effectively?" Screenshots of these chats quickly began circulating across social platforms. But perhaps the most dramatic shift came when TPUSA supporters themselves began turning on each other. In comment sections across the internet, fans started debating fiercely. His parents wouldn't come forward if this wasn't serious. They're trying to protect their son. Let them speak. This is exaggerated. We don't know the truth. But look at him. He hasn't looked happy in months. The division grew into a full-on digital civil war. And then came the flame that ignited the biggest firestorm yet. A popular YouTube commentator dropped a 15-minute video titled, "The Truth Behind Charlie Kirk's Marriage: What They Don't Want You to Know." The video included timelines, screenshots, voice clips, comparisons, body language breakdowns, and dramatic analysis of everything from Charlie's canceled events to his shifting tone in recent interviews. Within hours, the video hit 2 million views. And at the end of the video, the creator said something that made the internet freeze. There is one detail Charlie's parents revealed, something they haven't shared publicly yet. And when that comes out, this whole situation is going to explode. And suddenly, everyone needed to know what that detail was. Who did Charlie's wife force him to cut off? What did she make him do? Why were his parents terrified? Why was Charlie posting cryptic messages and disappearing from public view? What exactly happened behind those closed doors? People began tagging TPUSA, demanding statements. They tagged Charlie directly. They tagged his wife repeatedly, flooding her posts with thousands of comments. Meanwhile, a rumor began spreading that Charlie had been pulled from an upcoming event at the last minute, something that had never happened before in his career. Fans interpreted it as a sign. Something was happening. Something big. Something behind the scenes that couldn't be hidden anymore. And for the first time, the public wasn't just curious. They were concerned. Deeply concerned. Some even feared for Charlie's emotional well-being. But still, he said nothing. Silence. Total silence. And that silence was louder than anything he could have possibly said. Just when the internet thought the situation couldn't possibly escalate any further, just when fans were convinced they had heard every twist and uncovered every angle, just when political commentators were sure this story had reached its peak, something happened behind the scenes that nobody, and truly nobody, saw coming. Because after days of silence, after dozens of unanswered calls, after messages left unread, Charlie finally contacted his parents again. And insiders say this phone call was nothing like the last one. This wasn't emotional. This wasn't panicked. This wasn't broken. This was controlled, cold, measured, almost rehearsed. According to a family friend who overheard parts of the conversation, Charlie sounded like someone who had been coached, someone who was reading from a script, someone who had been told exactly what to say and what not to say. And the moment his parents heard his voice, they knew something was wrong, very wrong. His mother reportedly whispered, "That's not him. That's not my son." His father placed his hand over the speaker, furious, shaking his head. But once Charlie started speaking, things got even darker. Insiders claim he told his parents that everything they had said publicly was a misunderstanding, that they had overreacted, that there was no control, no pressure, and no manipulation, and that they needed to retract the statements for the sake of the family. Privately, his parents were stunned. This didn't sound like their son trying to clear up a miscommunication. This sounded like someone desperately trying to calm a storm. But the most shocking piece wasn't his tone. It was the words he used. According to an insider who claims to have heard the call through the room, Charlie repeated this sentence twice. "I need you to stop talking about her right now." Not please, not can we discuss this, not let's fix this. A command, a demand. His father reportedly interrupted him, shouting, "This isn't you. Who is making you say this?" Silence. Long, heavy silence. Then, in a voice barely audible, Charlie allegedly said, "I can't talk about this right now. I don't want problems." Those 6 words hit his parents harder than anything he had said before, because they didn't sound like Charlie trying to protect his wife. They sounded like Charlie trying to protect himself. His mother asked him directly, "Are you safe?" He didn't answer. His father asked, "Is someone pressuring you right now?" Still no answer. But then the moment came, the moment that shattered everything his parents believed about the situation. Because according to the insider, Charlie suddenly whispered, "She's here." And the call ended. Not with a goodbye, not with reassurance, not with clarity. Just a click. The line went dead. But the real twist came after that call. Because minutes later, a message surfaced from someone inside Charlie's inner circle. A message that insiders believe confirms what his parents feared the most. A message that read, "Something happened after that phone call. He didn't end it himself." This didn't just send panic through the family, it set the entire political world on fire. What did that mean? Why couldn't he answer freely? Was someone controlling what he said? Was he being monitored? Was he afraid of consequences? Nobody knew. But people began digging harder than ever. And then, the biggest leak of the entire scandal dropped. A message allegedly from a close friend of Charlie, time-stamped only minutes after the call ended. A message that said, he's not allowed to talk to them without supervision anymore. That one sentence sent the internet into a meltdown. Influencers posted emergency live streams. YouTubers dropped instant reaction videos. TikTok exploded with theories. Twitter threads turned into digital crime scenes. But then, just as the public chaos reached peak intensity, something even more chilling surfaced. A recording. A muffled, shaky audio clip only 5 seconds long. A voice, believed to be Charlie's father, saying in a terrified whisper, "She took the phone out of his hand." And that was it. 5 seconds. But those 5 seconds tore the internet apart, because now the story wasn't just about manipulation. It wasn't just about pressure. It wasn't just about emotional control. It sounded like physical intervention. And for the first time since this scandal began, people weren't asking, "What did she make him do?" They were asking, "Is he okay?" And then, everything went silent. No posts, no appearances, no statements, no photos, nothing from Charlie, nothing from his wife, nothing from TPUSA. It was as if the entire world held its breath, waiting for something, anything, to break the silence. But the silence broke from the one place nobody expected. A private burner account, an account people believe belongs to someone inside the house, posted a message that froze the entire internet. The secret his parents hinted at isn't the worst part. The worst part hasn't come out yet. And when it does, everything changes. The comment exploded instantly before being deleted within minutes. But screenshots live forever. And now the question isn't what happened before. It's what happened after that call. What is the worst part that still hasn't been revealed? Why is Charlie completely silent? Why is his wife silent? And why did someone inside the house risk everything to post that warning? Everything we've seen so far, the leaks, the tears, the pressure, the confessions, was just the beginning. There is a bigger truth. A final truth. A truth someone is desperately trying to hide. And when it comes out, nothing in Charlie's world, or the public's, will ever be the same. Now that you've seen everything, The leaks, the whispers, the audio, the photos, the explosive phone calls, and that terrifying final warning. You have to ask yourself one thing. What exactly is happening behind those closed doors? Because if this much chaos has surfaced publicly, imagine what hasn't. Someone inside that house risked everything to drop that final message. Someone close enough to hear what happened after the call. Someone who knew the world needed to prepare. And the truth they hinted at hasn't even come out yet. So let me ask you, what do you think the worst part is? Why did Charlie go silent at the exact moment things reached their peak? Why is nobody from his team stepping in to clarify? Why has his wife avoided every comment, every tag, every question? And why does it feel like the next chapter is going to be the most explosive one yet? Drop your theories below because this is the moment the entire internet becomes part of the investigation. Tell me what you think really happened after the phone call. Tell me whether you believe Charlie is speaking freely or whether someone is controlling the narrative from behind the scenes. Tell me if you believe his parents came forward out of panic or out of pure desperation. Your comments don't just help the channel. They shape the conversation. They push the truth to the surface. They force the people involved to respond. And trust me, they're watching. Every comment, every analysis, every theory. So don't hold back. Before you go, make sure you smash that like button if you want the next part. Because when the new leaks drop, and they will, you're going to want to be here the second the update goes live. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and get ready. Because I promise you, the next chapter is darker, heavier, and far more shocking than anything you've heard today. This story isn't over, not even close. In fact, it's just getting started. And when the truth finally comes out, it won't just break the internet, it will break everything.